Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. This is part one of the accuracy testing for the Minimalist 22 long rifle survival rifle series. I took all of them out to the range on this particular day. It was rather cold, it was a little bit windy, and to be perfectly honest, I got some results that I wasn't really expecting. Some of the results were exactly what I was expecting. Some of the results were a little bit disappointing. I will let you be the judge on which is which as you watch this video. I do have to apologize ahead of time. It is a little bit long-winded. It's over 20 minutes. I think it's worth sticking around to see it. I'm actually going to break this up into two separate videos. The second part of the accuracy is going to be more rapid-fire testing at a shoot-and-see target. But this time around, I'm just pointing at a bullseye and shooting to try to see what accuracy I can get out of the Chiappa Little Badger, the Henry U.S. Survival, the Ruger 1022 Takedown, and a wild card with another Ruger 1022 with the folding stock. That was a viewer suggestion. Thanks again to the viewers that suggested that, and let's roll into the video. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. I'm out here at my rifle range today, and I have targets set up at 25 yards and 50 yards. And what I'm going to be doing today is looking at the accuracy portion of my Minimalist Survival 22 long rifle video. You know, after the first video when I introduced this concept, I've gotten close to 100,000 views on that video, which to me is insane. It just means that there's a lot of people out there that like thinking about survival stuff and about minimalism and 22 long rifle in general. So because of that main video getting so many comments from people, I had to kind of do a disclaimer on that. When I was talking about a minimalist survival rifle, what I meant was something that is very small, that can fit in a backpack or a briefcase or a toolbox or something like that, that you don't necessarily want people to know you have. And there's several reasons why you might need that. If it's in a situation where you're trying to get out of a city and you need to have a firearm just in case something goes wrong, or if you're out backpacking in the wilderness and you don't really think you're gonna need a firearm, but you want something just in case you get lost in the woods and need to shoot a squirrel or a rabbit to stay alive in case, again, you get lost on a long-term trek, it starts snowing, you lose your path. Paul Harrell did some really good videos on wilderness survival, which is kind of where I got some of the idea for this. Really, again, so something that's small, that's compact, that you can take with you, that doesn't look like you're carrying a rifle around with you all the time, but something that when you need it, you can quickly deploy, and it's functional enough that you can take game with it, it's accurate enough that you can take game with it, and something that's light enough that you're not gonna care about carrying around all day long. So that's why I chose the Chiappa Little Badger, the Henry U.S. Survival, and the Ruger 1022 Takedown originally. Now in this video today, I'm going to add in the Butler Creek folding stock 1022 that I have, and I'll probably use that more for the accuracy because it has open sights on it. So let's go ahead and get into this video. Again, my 25-yard target is this one here. My 50-yard target is that guy over there. I don't know how well I'm gonna do with the open sights on these guns, so let's get into the video. On the concept of minimalism, this is my Boss Stitch toolbox that I use as my range pack when I come out to the range. And there's a couple of reasons why I use this as a range bag. One, it fits a whole bunch of stuff. I can keep my stapler in there, targets, my earplugs, eye protection, things like that. And again, minimalist and something that people won't think maybe has a rifle in it. So there's my Chiappa Little Badger inside the toolbox. Again, my Henry fits in there. I would venture a guess that if I took my 1022 apart, it might fit in there as well. But again, minimalist, something that fits in something that can be used in plain sight without drawing suspicion. But starting off with the Chiappa Little Badger, again, I talked about deployment speed, and again, people did call me out on the fact that you can't store this with a round in the chamber, so 12 rounds is what I can store in the buttstock. I'm not even gonna bother putting them in there for now. I just wanna do kind of an accuracy test with this, but as far as deployment goes, that's all you need to do to make this thing ready to shoot. So I have a mix of ammo. I'm gonna start off with some Aguila And I think these are hollow points, so they're like either a 36 or a 40 grain hollow point. I have a target set up at 25 yards, target set up at 50 yards. So I'm gonna shoot the top left-hand corner at 25 and 50 yards. I'll do 5 rounds with this guy, and then I'll switch off to another rifle. So let's see how we can do with this. And this guy does have a fantastic trigger, so let's see how the accuracy goes at 25 yards. I think that was 5. All right, I'm gonna go out to 50 yards. Again, top left target. 50 yards with these sights, not very good. And I haven't even checked to see if this thing is actually zeroed, but I'm shooting it out of the box, so let's see how I can do. And boy, 50 yards, I can barely see that target, so that'll be interesting. I'm sure that's gonna be crappy. Let's go look at the targets. Well, you're gonna see these in real time the same time I do. Ooh, as low. So, oh boy. Well, that's 25 yards with the Chiappa Little Badger. I was aiming for this, basically lollipopping the center of that target. So, standing offhand, it looks like just over like 2 1/8 inches by maybe 2 1/2 inches is the group. So that's my group for the Little Badger at 25 yards. Let's go check it at 50. I'm sure it's gonna be much worse. Yeah, I'm running through the snow. Oh boy, well, again, aiming here at 50, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, believe it or not, the group is not too bad. I mean, well, I suppose if you throw that guy out. This group, I mean, that's an inch, less than an inch by an inch with one flyer. So I would say that's probably, 2 1/2 inch group. Accuracy is terrible because I was aiming up here, but again, first time I've shot it, so it's consistent. It's capable of good accuracy, but it being pretty windy out here and shooting at 50 yards, obviously, that's not a very good group. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so moving on next to the Henry, and I have to say, I did not load these magazines ahead of time. So I'm gonna have to start from scratch on this guy with unloaded magazines and do this all in one shot. So let's see, receiver first.
Still getting used to this.
Again, it's not the easiest thing. It's not meant to be done fast in a hurry. Said that before. I mean, 45 seconds is what they say. So this would be more one of those, well, I was out and about and I set up camp. And in setting up my camp, I took the time to put my rifle together. Now again, the accuracy on this, maybe the accuracy is not the best test for this right now because I haven't zeroed any of these rifles at 25 or 50 yards. Haven't even shot them at all. So I'm going fresh out of the box on the Henry and on the Chiappa. And I gotta find my other ammo. Let's see. So, let's see here. Oh, we did have some more Aguila. So, same ammo, Aguila Super Extra, 40 grain. 2 magazines loaded up with 5 rounds. Again, this time I'll do the top right target with the Henry, and let's see how I can do for accuracy on this guy. Here we go. Definitely a semi-auto is a lot easier to use than a single shot. Definitely. So 50 yards now. All right, so it shot fine, it loaded fine. That was 10 rounds of high velocity. Let's go check out the target for the Henry US Survival with the same Aguila 40 grain hollow points. All right, so just like last time, you're seeing this at the same time I am. Oh, it's not too bad. Aiming at the top right target. Now the accuracy is a little bit worse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like 1, 2, 3.5 inches by only about an inch. So 3.5 by 1. Again, if I was bench rest shooting this and I really needed to make a good hit on an animal, I think I definitely could, and I'll probably switch to that after. Let's check out the 50-yard target. I know it's going to be worse. So again, I'm assuming in a survival situation, if you needed to take a shot at an animal at 25 or 50 yards, you should be able to find a stump or a tree with a branch sticking out that you can lean on to take some shots. Well, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That is me, I'm sure. So I had 3 by 1 on the other one. This one looks like 1, 2, 3, 4.5 by about 1 3/4. So not a good group at all, but not indicative of the accuracy of the rifle. That's more based on me. You know, I came out here thinking I should try shooting these completely standing up offhand, but it's obvious that I'm a terrible shot shooting these offhand. So instead, I'm gonna sit on the bench, and I have just a little tiny bag. It's not even a big one. It's only, I don't know, 5 inches tall. Same high velocity Aguila ammo. Let's see how I can do at 25 yards with that sight. Actually, I'm not even going to use the bag, but the sight is now set on number 2 on the Chiappa Little Badger. Let's see if I can do any better here. And I'm going to shoot at the top left again, because that's where I started. So I will say, I think as a strictly survival rifle, if this is all you had, you could get by with it, but this is fast becoming the lowest on my list for usability and functionality. I mean, it does shoot well. It shoots, that's the biggest thing, but it is not that easy to use. Okay, moving back to the Henry now. I will say the Little Badger, it's functional, but you saw me shooting it. It is very slow to shoot. I'm not saying it's not fun. I'm not saying that you couldn't make it work if you had to, but it is slow to shoot. So moving on now to the Henry, I'm gonna take 5 shots again in the upper right target over there. And let's see if I can do any better this time being bench rest shot. crap. Well, that's got to be the worst looking 22 I have ever seen. I don't know how well you're going to see that. So this is the round that just came out of that rifle. It crushed it on one side. It smashed the tip in, but it looked like it had punctured it, but it didn't. It just crushed the edge of the case in and totally deformed the tip of that round. So that round's junk now. Try that again. All right, so bench rest shooting these two rifles. Let's go see how I did now. All right, so I did that test again. Holy crap. Even increasing the height of the rear sight on the Chiappa Little Badger from the 1 to the 2, that group's not much closer to the bullseye. I mean, it's a little bit tighter. I think this was probably the last one that I had because I think this was the previous group, but I mean, it's like, you know, a little over an inch, like 1 1/8 inches by 3/4 of an inch on that particular group, but I'm still aiming up here, and that's with the rear sight on the second notch. The Henry, the group definitely tightened up on it. I think these 4 and maybe 1 in the bullseye are the ones I just took. So that group is much better, just bench rest shooting. But let's go to the 10-22. This is kind of disappointing. So in this test, I'm using the 10-22 takedown, even though I know the accuracy is not going to be fair because this has a red dot. I'm most familiar with this gun, but the whole point is you want a gun that's reliable and accurate. And so far, the Chiappa is extremely reliable. The accuracy, my accuracy with it is not that great yet. I'm gonna keep shooting it. But the 10-22, I know I can do pretty well with this. So let's take some shots at 25 on the bottom left target and at 50 on the bottom left target, and let's see what we can do. Let's go check the targets out. Now I suspect that's going to be a much better group than the other two because I'm familiar with it, and red dots really do help. Oh man, that is good. That's 3/4 by 3/4. That's why 10-22s are phenomenal. Now again, I have a Keystone Arms target barrel with micro groove rifling in it and a red dot, but holding right in the center of that thing, that's a 3/4 by 3/4 inch group all day long. Phenomenal. Let's go check 50. I bet it'll probably be a little bit low at 50, but I'm betting the group is still pretty good. It opened up a little bit. Definitely opened up a little bit. So I went from 3/4 by 3/4. This is probably 3.5 by 3, which again is not great. If I really took my time, I'm sure I can do better than that. So for the last one, the wild card is this Ruger 10-22 in the Butler Creek stainless steel folding stock. This one has, again, a 16-inch 10-22 compact barrel with Williams fire sights on it. At least I believe that's what they are. And this one has a trigger kit in it as well. I'm gonna do the same exact drill at 25 and 50 yards using the bottom right-hand target, and let's see how I do with this guy. So many rifles up here in the way now. All right. Ooh, this is nice. This is really nice. again, out of the four, this is probably the least compact because this is as small as it folds up. It's probably about 26 inches folded up. Maybe not quite, but somewhere around there, 26 inches folded up. But this is a really good option. This thing feels great. It shoots great. That pistol grip really gives you a good purchase. Let's go see how it did at 25 and 50. Now, this isn't the most fair comparison because I'm cold and I'm not really taking my time as much as I should. I know that for a fact, but let's check out what I did here. So, less than a 2-inch group. It's about a 1.5 by less than an inch. So 1.5 by maybe 7/8 of an inch, maybe 1.5 by 1. That's not too bad. The front post on that barrel is pretty big. So it was basically covering this entire target. But the difference between the red dot on the 1022 Takedown and the open sights, the Williams fire sights on the 1022 with the folding stock, it's almost twice as big of a group. So something to keep in mind. Let's go check at 50 yards. I'm betting it's going to be a little bit worse at 50 yards. And again, I wouldn't take this test as the empirical evidence to judge what you purchase. However, 1022s have been known to be really accurate, really reliable. So that group, that's probably 1.5 by 2.25, something like that. So that's my thumb. 1, 2, a little over 2 thumbs. So that's probably about 1.5 by 2.25. That's with the open sights. It's almost exactly the same as it was with the red dot because that's a 5 MOA red dot. And again, that Williams front fiber optic sight basically covers this whole entire target. So it's okay accuracy. I mean, I would say that the 1022 with the open sights almost did better at 50 yards than the 1022 with the red dot. So in summary, what was a little bit surprising to me was the Chiappa Little Badger. The accuracy was not very good at all from my standpoint. The groups were really large. I had to set the rear sights really high to get anywhere close to my target, even at 25 yards. If you ask me, that rifle is really only rated for like 15 to 20 or 25 yards. Much beyond that, the accuracy is not that great, in my opinion. The front sight post is a little bit too wide to get good accurate shots. The Henry surprised me a little bit. The rear peep sight on that with the larger aperture hole was actually pretty good at 25 and 50 yards. I wouldn't say it was an exceptional sight, but it wasn't too bad. The accuracy was okay. The reliability on that rifle was not that great, and I am going to do a reliability aspect to this series as well. That'll be coming up a little bit later. Obviously, the 1022s, because they're 1022s, they had good reliability. They were easy to use, and they were probably a little bit more accurate than the other two. I will have part 2 of the accuracy testing, which is more rapid fire, like 20-25 rounds on each one of a shoot and see target at 25 yards, which I think is a pretty good distance to test out that type of shooting. Obviously, again, I've said it many times, I'm not a marksman. I know there's tons of people in the comments that are screaming at me saying, you're not using a bench rest, you're not doing the greatest job shooting, your trigger squeezes are terrible, the sunlight is in your eyes, or, you know, you should be blowing out when you're shooting and making sure that your thumb is on the side of the receiver as opposed to around the pistol grip. I don't know. I'm not the best shooter in the world. I understand that. But again, I'm an average shooter. And if I was an average guy out in the wilderness shooting one of these guns at an animal, then this is the kind of results that you might tend to see. So again, come back for part 2 of the accuracy. And then I'm also going to have another video looking at the reliability of all 3 of these guns. That's where the real surprises came in for me. So thanks for watching another edition of Cranky Gun Reviews. God bless America. Support your 2A rights. Get out there and shoot. And you remember, if someone asks you to give up some of your freedom for the greater good, remind them that freedom is always the greater good. And again, I apologize for the length of this video. I know it's a pretty long one.